Okay, what we'll do today is have a look at Bitcoin and when we might be moving out of this correction and break the downtrend that we are in. We'll have a look at some of the older corrections that we had in the past and try to use some data from that to extrapolate as to when we might be able to break out of this trend line. And we can also use Fibonacci time to give us some sort of clues as to when this pattern will resolve itself, okay? So if you like this sort of video, please go ahead and give it a like down below. It really helps me out and doesn't cost you anything. Lets me know that you want to see more of this sort of stuff. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this content daily. So I am taking the premise that the 69K to 42K was the impulsive wave down. We can of course move lower, but we really want to see this low hold to sort of maintain this uptrend of higher highs and higher lows. And the corrections that I've tried to pick out in the past is I've tried to be as unbiased as I can so that we can give us some clear indication, because we want to pick out trends that are either similar in velocity to the downside, and in terms of duration, ones that have taken slightly longer and longer to resolve, and have also resulted in continuation of some sort of uptrend. Okay, because we're assuming, like I said, that we want this to be the corrective phase that basically essentially leads us higher once we break it. So let's go and take a look at some of the ones in the past, and we'll mark these off as we go along. So first one that we're looking at is May 17, where we were essentially in a downtrend and in a corrective phase for 40 days. The November 2018 dump was about 150 days. Okay, and then we've got the March crash, which was about 35 days. Okay, the March 2020 COVID crash, and I do remember the summer of 2020 when we essentially didn't move that down that far compared to some of the previous corrections, but it was definitely long and drawn out, and one that we wanted to break out to resume an uptrend, and that one was 52 days. Just to give you an idea of how long Bitcoin can be in these corrective phases. And the May 2020 dump was around about 100 days last year. So using that, we can sort of see at the minute that we're at about a 56 day into this correction. So we're somewhere probably in and around average into this, compared to some of the previous corrections. So we're probably bang in and around there, and we can extend a little bit longer than that, if this pattern wants to take a little bit longer. But we speculated a little bit earlier in the week that we're probably looking for about a 2 to 6 weeks to probably resolve this pattern, okay, and hopefully break out of this downtrend and make at least some sort of impulsive move to the upside, because we haven't seen anything yet. This jump up to 52K for me is really a nothing, right? It's basically just volatility. You can almost see it. It's almost basically intraday volatility within this downtrend, right? So I'm looking for some kind of resolution more likely to the upside. Is there anything that we can have a look in terms of fib time to give us an idea for some of the previous relationships of corrections? So what we can see, right, this can give you an indication of when we might break from it. Now, again, we want to take this from the start of the impulse down to the bottom. And if we have a look at the Fibonacci relationship from some of these major corrections, what we can see, what we can see over here, and we'll go through that in a moment, is obviously what we use here is the normal Fibonacci numbers of 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 21, etc., etc. But we don't really need to probably project out that far any further than the 5 for these purposes. But what we can see is that when we reach the 3, okay, assuming that we are in a corrective phase and we are looking to resume uptrend or break out into some sort of new uptrend, we can see that when we get to the 3, okay, we want to basically be in a position where we are either breaking to the upside, or we're starting to basically grind and churn our way back to the back up, and moving out of the lows of the corrective phase. Okay, and then by the time we get to the 5, we really want to be on our way, or really making some sort of new uptrend. Okay, once we've broken out of this corrective phase, if that's the top and that's the bottom. Okay, so if we have a look at where we are at the minute, what can we see? So if we take that and we use that as the bottom, okay, pretty much as we speculated before, okay, you know, we've got no guarantees, but we're looking at, you know, the 3 to maybe start to be grinding higher. So we can start to look at this area over here. Maybe we start to, you know, maybe we move sideways for another week or 2, and then towards the end of Jan, right, we start to move a little bit higher, and we move into that mid-50s, 53k region, which we spoke as, which would probably be the next major point of resistance if we were to move higher, okay? And then by the time we move some point into March, maybe we can, you know, we start to be, you know, grind out some sort of new uptrend where we are moving higher. So these might be some key dates that you want to look out for, okay? So using that, okay, we can speculate that maybe like we said, in the next 2 to 4 weeks, we can expect some sort of resolution, I would say, of this downtrend. Maybe we move lower, quite possible, and we maybe come down and tap the 40s. We can do all that sort of stuff in between. But if we want to break out of this correction and we want to move higher, I think our premise would be that we want to be in and around January, really starting to give us some clues that we want to reverse this correction, reverse this trend, and maybe in a month or 2, somewhere in this region, we want to be probably challenging somewhere around the 55 or the 60k region. So that's basically how we can use fib time to give us an indication of how long the correction would last, okay? And then if we take that from top, and let's say we're still in this corrective phase and we haven't broken out impulsively like the other ones, again, that late January, end of the month would put us about 83 days. That's, you know, well within you know, the sort of moves that we've had prior, and I would expect this, if we are to move up higher from here, to be shorter than this one, okay, and definitely shorter than the November 2018 move, because, you know, typically this looks like a smaller move in comparison to these two, where the volatility to the downside hasn't been quite, or the move to the downside hasn't been quite as large. So you would expect the time it takes to correct, okay, to also be shorter. Okay, now obviously March 2020 was almost like a bit of an anomaly. I think everything pretty much tanked and almost lost 50% of its value. So that's almost like an anomaly. But like you said, you know, usually the bigger the move to the downside, the bigger the correction and time it takes to you know, build a base and move higher. And we're probably seeing something here. So maybe we do look at something like that 80 days mark, where we can start to, you know, have a look at that as a point to move higher. So those are the key dates we are going to be looking out for. If you like this sort of video, like I said, please drop me a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more. And yeah, let's see where we move in the coming weeks. Peace out, and I'll catch you in the next video.